PADI is the Professional Association of Diving Instructors, and in 2015, thousands of divers around the world participated in the first PADI Women's Dive Day. The following year, a group of women in our region decided to get involved.
Shortly before midnight on July 15, 2016, 15 divers gathered on the Lake Superior shoreline and prepared to dive a shipwreck just offshore.
Even though it's a shallow wreck, this is still Lake Superior. This is serious, serious business. As soon as you're ready, as soon as it's midnight at least, as soon as you're ready to get in the water, stick with your buddy and you can go ahead and get in.
Midnight marked the beginning of PADI Women's Dive Day 2016.
We learned about PADI Women's Dive Day and we thought, how could we participate? What could we do?
It's an international day to celebrate women diving.
I do believe like 65 countries are involved with different events, and this is our event that we're doing for Michigan.
We're inviting everybody to come out. You know, whether you're a diver or not, whether you're a snorkeler, whether you're a man or a woman, come out and celebrate with us women in diving.
Women's PADI Dive Day and that Big Five Dive will show other women that are interested in diving that if these women did 5 dives in 24 hours, I can do 1 on a trip.
As part of the Big Five Dive, we're going to scuba dive all 5 Great Lakes in less than 24 hours. On 4 of the sites, we will be exploring shipwrecks, and in the 5th site, we'll also be exploring a sunken historic hotel dock.
At the stroke of midnight, the Lake Superior dive began at Pendles Creek in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. The site's history is mysterious. It's known only as the Pendles Creek Shipwreck. The wooden wreck sits upright in 12 feet of water, just a few hundred feet offshore. All 5 of the day's dives would be kept short. There was no time to spare.
Six back.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Leaving Pendles Creek, the team traveled 67 miles, crossed the Mackinac Bridge, and arrived at dive site number 2, Headlands International Dark Sky Park, at the northern tip of Michigan's Lower Peninsula.
We kept our wetsuits on. It wasn't very comfortable being wet and soggy, but not as cold as I thought it was going to be.
At 2:26 a.m., the divers hit Lake Michigan.
The entry was tough to walk through the rocks and then try to use some light sticks and flashlights from shore to orient yourself on what direction you should go to find the buoy. Can't see anything, so we just headed out towards the moon, which is kind of nice.
The Heartache shipwreck is also unidentified. The wreckage from a small vessel or barge rests in shallow water only a few hundred feet from the shore.
So the easiest way is to the right and then up.
There, are you good?
It's about the stars, seeing the moon set.
That was pretty.
That was pretty wicked. I've never seen that happen before.
I haven't either. And to see it from the water?
Holy cow.
Yeah.
With 2 dives finished, the team headed for the 3rd destination, 40 Mile Point, an hour's drive east on the shores of Lake Huron.
The sun started to rise, and it was rising over Lake Huron, and we could see it on our drive, just a little bit peeking out.
The divers had spent the previous day preparing and the entire night diving and traveling.
Am I too tired? This is going to be the longest swim at 40 Mile Point. Am I going to be able to rally?
At 4:40 a.m., the divers waded into Lake Huron toward the wreck of the Joseph S. Fay, one of 99 known shipwrecks within the waters of the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary.
That was, I think, our best visibility of all of the dives. The wreck was large and beautiful.
The Joseph S. Fay was a 216-foot wooden freighter that grounded and broke apart in high winds in 1905. The lower hull sits in 17 feet of water, not far from shore.
We went down and the sun hadn't come up yet, but the clouds were like pink. And when we came up from our 10 minutes underwater, the sun had been shining and it was just beautiful, and it felt like I was in a dream. Probably the longest part of our trip was ahead of us, but we had the intense part behind us.
3 dives and 3 legs of the trip were complete. but Lake Erie and Lake Ontario still lay ahead. Next came the longest drive of the day, 381 miles from 40 Mile Point to the town of Avon Lake, Ohio. The divers were running an hour behind schedule, and Lake Erie was offering up 2-foot waves.
2-footers doesn't sound bad, but when you're down at the level of the water and you've got rocky breakwater there to crash your head against, I mean, 2 feet can be pretty intimidating and it can be unsafe.
At 3:51 p.m., the divers went into Lake Erie aiming for the wreck of the Penelope, a 74-foot steam-powered tugboat that caught fire and sank in 1909.
Once the divers were able to get past the breaking waves and out into the lake a little bit, it calmed down and it made it a little bit easier to navigate. The visibility, though, was really poor because of the wave action and the wind. It had really brought up the sediment, and so it was pretty murky down there. I mean, you got to see a little glimpse of a wooden shipwreck, but certainly not the entire site.
With Lake Erie down, the end was within reach. But the divers were running over 2 hours behind schedule and still faced a 4-hour drive to Olcott, New York.
I had slept, I think, maybe 2.5 hours at this point. Some people got lost. Some people ended up in Cleveland. Since we were delayed, this dive, which was not supposed to be a night dive, it was supposed to be more of a twilight dive, it turned into a night dive.
With less than 2 hours remaining in the day, the dive team arrived on the shores of Lake Ontario for their final dive.
So up here, there used to be a the historic hotel of Olcott, New York. Since the hotel was razed, the docks have also are no longer in use.
The divers' goal? The remains of a concrete pier about 500 feet offshore.
Our goal tonight is to go all the way out there if possible.
And at 10:27 p.m., the team completed the 5th and final dive of the day.
Come on in, ladies!
All right, team 6.
The first ones are out. We did it. With time to spare, I'd say.
Team 2 is accounted for. We did it! Last one. I can't even think. I'm so tired. Yeah.
Even though it was just a fast, 24 hours, it really was a life-changing experience.
To think about how many sunsets, moonsets, and sunrises we saw in the span of 24 hours, that's kind of crazy.
With the hashtag that was going around, you could click on it and see all of the different events that women were doing around the world that involved diving. And it was so cool to see that so many women were getting together to do this. And I think that this should definitely be a thing that continues to happen.
For more on these stories and the Great Lakes in general, visit greatlakesnow.org. When you get there, please follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and sign up for our newsletter. See you out on the lakes.